Hey everybody, welcome back to Joe Sends Rare Elvis Photos. We're going to read some more of Elvis in the Twilight of Memory with June Wanico. I know I've been making some announcements about my new book that's going to be coming out, so if you do want the special price on it for the ebook, the download, Kindle, and Amazon, shoot me an email, rareelvisphotos@gmail.com. You'll see the email across below. I've got some previews on a couple of the other videos, and I'll put some previews here and there. But I don't want to do it on every single video, especially if you're tuning in to hear about June and Elvis, who we know had a relationship in 1956, and she wrote a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book that Peter Guralnick, the Elvis historian, wrote a foreword for. Anywho, let's go ahead and start reading, huh? We're on chapter 22. Okay. Hey, by the way, let me go ahead and thank a few people for leaving me some super thanks. Let me see here. Hey, Leslie Cook, thank you for leaving that super thanks. Cap and Eep, or C-A-P and E-A-P. Elvis Aaron Presley, that's what Eep is for, I bet. Andrew Marion, appreciate that $50 super thanks. Susan Charles, Leslie Cook again a couple different times. Drew, thank you so much. Cap and EAP. Cat Whiskers, thank you so much for that. Super thanks. Yeah, and once again, not required. Not required. If y'all want to do it, great. For you members that are out there, let me go ahead and shout you out as well, because I appreciate your membership. That's a static amount. I think that's offered every single month. Let's see here. I want to see the total members. That's why I'm trying to read y'all. Shout y'all out here. Well, it's not showing me. Maybe y'all canceled. I'm just kidding. I don't understand. Okay. Well, dead air time is not good to have. So unfortunately, on my phone, I just showed the total members that I have on the channel, but I don't have the names for some reason. Okay. Chapter 22. Let's just move on with something I do know. I can read, kind of. Elvis's first show in Tampa was scheduled for 3:30 p.m. at the Fort Homer Hesterly Armory. After hearing about the extra security needed in Miami, the Sertoma Civic Club, sponsors of the show, put 40 club members, 6 policemen, and over a dozen National Guardsmen in place to try to control the 10,000 plus in attendance. Remembered she had relatives in the Tampa area, Pat suggested we skip the afternoon show and visit 3 of her cousins. We were on the 3rd day of the tour, and I was more than ready to sit and relax. Tom, Sylvia, and Bob Hayes, all close to the same age as Pat and I, would be a welcome change of pace. Now, Elvis wasn't too happy when I called his room to say that we were skipping the show. But Colonel Parker was there, so he couldn't give me any argument. By the time Pat finally got her cousin, Tom, on the phone, however, it was too late to visit. Tom apologized, saying they weren't going to be home. They had tickets to see Elvis Presley, and wouldn't miss him for the world. They wished we could go with them, but the show had been sold out for weeks and no tickets were available. Now, when Pat told him that we didn't need tickets, he just laughed, not believing a word she said. Pat hung up the phone saying, "We'll see you tonight." Pat sounded like a smart butt, doesn't she? The huge armory was all one level, with the stage built over a platform. The area surrounding it was roped off and heavily guarded. Now, the screams started when Elvis, wearing white buck shoes, black pants, and a maroon jacket, stepped on the platform and joined the 3-piece band in the center. There were no wings to watch from, so I stood between Arthur and Red until I knew the Colonel was nowhere in the area. I should have known he'd be up front, doing a head count, more concerned with the $1.50 general admission fee than with watching Elvis's performance. I turned to see who was tugging on my shoulders to find Pat, up on her tiptoes, scanning the audience. I moved her up in the front of me, knowing it would be impossible to find anyone in a crowd this size, even more impossible with feet stomping, hands clapping, and heads swaying back and forth to the rhythm of I got a woman way across town. She's good to me. How long has it been since you've seen him? I asked Pat, referring to her cousins. Just a few years. Why? Well, I thought maybe they wouldn't recognize you since you're grown up. Are you kidding? She laughed. I stopped growing up in the 6th grade. Or really, she said I stopped growing in the 6th grade. The crowd didn't get quiet until Elvis began singing his first slow song of the night. All of a sudden, there was a loud scream coming from the audience. Patsy! Tom, Sylvia, and Bob screamed, waving their hands. Now, I didn't really think about Pat being short for Patsy. But now we all know, if we didn't know that before. Pat jumped from the platform, made her way through the wall of security men, and went to see her cousins. By the time the show was nearly over, she still wasn't back. She waited for a quiet moment and let out a scream of her own. Elvis! She was being held back by the guards and was in a panic. Elvis saw her and motioned to one of the boys to get her. On the way back to the hotel, he chewed her booty out. Listen, little lady. Actually, Elvis said, listen, little lady, you're my responsibility, and I'm the only one who promised to take care of you. Pull that shit again, and I'll put you on a bus and send you behind back to Biloxi. Said the other word, the ESS. She sat silently in the back seat, her lower lip quivering, tears running down her cheeks. Now, was that Elvis that said that? I'm pretty sure. Sorry. Oh, okay. How funny. Trying to get to her family, and she's kind of like breaking through security guards, and Elvis had to help out. Anyhow, Elvis was anxious to get out of his sweaty clothes and went straight to his room without a word. Pat and I continued down the hall and went to our room too. It was late, and I figured we were in for the night. Pat's hurt feelings had now turned to anger. She snatched her PJs from the dresser drawer and stormed into the bathroom. He don't have to put me on a bus. I can put myself on a bus, she yelled, taking it out on me. Don't yell at me, Pat. You heard him as well as I did when he said no one was to leave the protective circle. The boys are always giving him problems. He certainly doesn't need any from us. That's what June said, defending Elvis. She crawled into her bed, faced the wall, and pulled the covers up over her head. I was just about to get into bed when I heard Elvis's familiar knock on the door. I wonder if he knocks like blue suede shoes. That'd be kind of cool if he knocked like that. Hey, short little break here, a little small little story. Y'all know my music manager. Before he passed away, for nearly a decade, was Merle Kilgore. He wrote Wolverton Mountain. They say don't go on Wolverton Mountain. Remember that song? And then he wrote More and More by Webb Pierce. And then he wrote Fought All the Way, Johnny Rib, Johnny Horton. Merle wrote a ton of songs. And he spent time with Elvis on the road, which I've shared some of the stories before. Double dating with Elvis. Took Elvis to meet his mom, because Elvis was from Louisiana. Told me a lot of stories about Elvis. But anyways, I saw a video last night of Merle singing Blue Suede Shoes. Now, Merle is no Elvis, and Merle knew that. Merle sounded more like Johnny Cash than he did Elvis, although he had his own voice. But he just sang it kind of funny, like a comedy song. And Hank Jr. was sitting there on the couch watching him sing. Might have been the Tonight Show, I don't know. But anyways, made me think of that with knocking on this. Well, that's the one for the money for a door knock. He went to Pat's bed, pulled back the covers, and kissed her on the cheek. She sat up smiling and said, "It'll never happen again, I promise." There was another knock on the door, but this time it was Jean looking for Elvis. I'll talk a little bit about Jean, by the way, in the book that I wrote. The companion to Are You Lonesome Tonight, which, once again, you should still see the email address below there. You can email me if you want on the list. Let's keep going. The colonel called the room, looking for you, Elvis. And I told him you were in the shower, Jean proudly announced. letting Elvis know that he wasn't about to betray his secret rendezvous. Loyal Gene, right? Leaning back on the twin bed, which was like a chase lounge for two, he waited for a few minutes, picked up the phone, and told us both to be very quiet. Now, after talking to Colonel a few minutes, he hung up the phone smiling. He said, guess what? The two shows today had over 2,000 people in attendance. Actually, shit, I screwed up. My throat's hurting. I shouldn't even try to imitate Elvis at all. It's hard enough to read. So let me just say it normal so you can understand what he said, what was written. Okay. He said, guess what? The two shows today had over 10,000 people in attendance, and they turned away over 1,000 at the door. Baby, that's a lot of people. You know that? My first thought, boy, June does not like Colonel Parker. Good for her. My first thought was to wonder how many pictures that old fart sold, but I didn't say anything. I hope the Colonel still has some of your pictures left. I need another black and white glossy, but I refused to buy it from him, I said. Didn't he give you one a long time ago, Elvis said. Yeah, but I was showing it to a friend and she licked off all of the gloss, I said, licking my lips. Okay, that probably looked like I was getting ice cream off my lips instead of what June. I might have to delete that off the video. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it. I guess I'm a goofball sometimes. He rolled over on his stomach laughing. And Elvis said, rub my back for me, baby. She licked off all the gloss, huh? Laughing again. He turned out all the lights before removing everything but his underwear and crawled in next to me in the twin bed. Within a matter of minutes, we were both sound asleep in our usual spoon position. Now, shortly after sunrise, I felt him kiss me on the forehead and opened my eyes to see him fully dressed, sneaking out the door. The Colonel had lived in Florida for many years and never seen him around the hotel. I assumed he was staying with friends. This arrangement worked out great for Elvis and me, and when he wasn't doing a show, we could spend more worry-free time together. What little free time actually there was. Tampa was our home base for 3 days. From there, Elvis was driving to the neighboring city of St. Petersburg to do 3 more shows, and then to Lakeland the following day to do 3 more. Attending the shows was fun, but also very tiring. I can only imagine what it must have been doing to Elvis. The dark circles under his eyes were not mascara smudges. He had them even after a shower. The pace was beginning to take its toll. Pat and I decided to skip St. Petersburg, stay in Tampa, and take it easy for the day. Now, I couldn't do anything for Elvis but be there when he returned and help him unwind. Now, emotionally drained and physically exhausted, he would come straight to my room to get away from everyone, including the boys. He wasn't planning to stay all night, but usually fell asleep in the twin bed with me. While Elvis was in St. Petersburg for the day, Pat and I decided to go to the hotel beauty salon and have a blonde streak put in our hair. I feel like I saw a picture of June with that blonde streak. A friend of mine passed away last year. Young mother, had 3 children, has three children, but she had a natural blonde streak in her brown hair. That was because she was some sort of German Swiss in her heritage. There's the blonde streak, right? Let me see, right here. Let me show it to y'all. Now that I lost the page. That's the blonde streak. That's at the house in Biloxi, so she must have had it done prior. Prior to, she must have had it done well, I don't know. She did it there in Biloxi, or in Florida, so that picture must have been afterwards when they got back, I'm guessing. Alright, let's see here. Okay, I got the right page now. Now, at the time, June said it was the thing to do. I discussed it with Elvis, but he thought it was a bad idea. And Elvis said, leave your hair alone, June. It looks good like it is. Now, feeling like I needed a change, I decided we should do it anyways. The salon operator knew we were with Elvis and had dollar signs in her eyes when she saw us coming, as they say. I paid my hairdresser in Biloxi less than $10 for a blonde streak. So when the hairdresser said the bill was $48.50, Pat and I almost, well, the word also can be substituted for number two. Then we really went number two when she said $48.50 each. It's a lot of money. I mean, $10, that seems to be right, because now to get your hair done, I mean, one blonde streak, $10, is still a lot of money. You know, but nowadays it's a couple $100, $300 to get your hair done in a lot of places. Isn't that crazy? I understand it's a specialty, but wow. $48.50 in 1956. The total bill was $97 for a streak that wasn't a streak at all. It was just a blondish yellow patch covering almost the entire left side of my head. Patch wasn't too bad because her hair was light, but the big patch of yellow on my dark hair was awful. And to pay that much for it to be made made it even harder to take. Sometimes I don't read these words right. The worst was yet to come. Pat started digging in her purse, and me in mine. Because of our shopping spree in Miami, together we could only come up with $38. That's no problem, girls, the hairdresser assured us. You can charge it to your boyfriend's room. With all his money, he won't even notice it. Ooh. Pat and I decided to put our heads together and decided to charge it to Buddy's room instead. We could pay Buddy back later. That's a lot of money in 1956. Jeez Louise. And Elvis wouldn't have to know anything about it. Pat and I were in the lobby watching the only television in the hotel when Arthur and Buddy walked in. They had left the theater while Elvis was still on stage, and Buddy took one look at me and started to laugh. Did you do that to yourself, or did you have to pay someone to make you look like a skunk? I didn't have enough money to pay for it, so I charged it to your room, and I'll pay you back when we get home. How much money are we talking about, Buddy asked. Almost $50, I answered meekly. Almost $50 for me too, Pat chimed in, patting her streak. Boy, is EP gonna be mad. He told y'all not to do it in the first place, Buddy said, not even concerned about the cost. Pat and I left the lobby and were up in our room when Elvis finally returned. And when Elvis finally knocked on her door, Pat ran and locked herself in the bathroom. He took one look at me and shook his head from side to side. Baby, what in the hell did you do that for? And I was crushed. I hated it too, but it was already done. Before my tears had a chance to reach my cheeks, he held me tight and kissed each eye. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going to be this big. Whoops, I just made her sound like Elvis. She cried, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was going to be this big. And then Elvis said, it's okay, baby. It's not bad. Really it's not. He said soothingly, petting me like a hurt little puppy. Looking around the room for Pat, he went to the bathroom door and started banging. Get out here, Pat. Let me see your $50 mistake. She came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her head, turban style. He removed the towel and made a tisk, tisk, tisk sound. Then he laughed. I suppose if June wants to jump off a cliff, you'll jump too, huh, Pat? What am I going to do with you two? No matter how I tried to comb my hair, I still couldn't hide that big yellow patch. I gotta say, I don't think it looks bad at all. I think she looks cute with it. I could see why Elvis was attracted to June. I mean, she was a beautiful woman, a beautiful girl back then, and she had a bit of a wild look to her, but at the same time, you know, that looked pretty good, don't it? Maybe not. Maybe y'all don't like it. I don't know. Anybody out there ever put a patch of color in their hair like that? Just curious. All right. Let me find out where I... Okay, we're getting close to the end of the chapter, I think. Okay. Got a couple pages left, which is good because my ear still hurts, my throat hurts, and it's tough. It's tough to read, but I made a commitment that I was gonna. It's my off day from work. I took the day off, put some PTO in so I could do some more editing on the book and to read y'all some as well. And I think I might have told you this earlier. Maybe I didn't, but it's going to be a 2-part series. The book is going to be so. I'm done with the first one. I just got to get it edited out, and I got to get it in the right format and all that good stuff. Getting the covers designed and the spine for the actual physical print copies. And that's going to be on a discounted price for y'all too for the first, I would say the first week or so. That way you'll have the opportunity to buy it, at a discounted price. I mean, y'all have been loyal subscribers. You've watched so many videos, spent so many hours. It amazes me sometimes when I look at my YouTube and the impressions. YouTube puts my videos out there in front of between 1.5 and 4 million people a month. Now, not everybody watches the videos, but they do see the thumbnails, the titles, it gets shown to them in the algorithm. So I got to thank YouTube as well. YouTube has been kind to me. The fact that I didn't have to have the growth that I had. And y'all, and the love of Elvis that y'all have, and y'all making it to the end, the MITT, watching videos all the way through, not skipping through, stuff like that. Hey, there's also a new, before I finish this chapter, there's a new feature that I've seen at the bottom of videos called Hype this video, and you can give it points. It doesn't cost anything to do it. So if y'all can remember to start doing that, it might be in the description. Let me see if I can figure this out. Thanks for bearing with me, by the way, while I'm trying to learn and show y'all stuff. My videos, I feel like there's the video. All right, so let me click that. Yeah, there it is. Okay, if you see it, hold on. Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay, it says, okay, so across the top here, you've got all the things that you can click on. You got the remix, thanks, hype, the like. It's across that. You just got to scroll across it, and it says hype. And if you click hype, be the first to hype this video. It's free to hype it, and you just click it, and I guess you give it points, and I guess it ranks the videos up even more. Something free to do, and do that for other YouTubers that you like as well. I think it's just a way for YouTube to get more interactions with y'all. And you don't have to stop the video when you click on it. You just click on hype and then give it the points. Maybe I'll do a screen recording sometime in the future that shows you how to do that. Okay, let's get back to this. We got a few pages. Okay. June said, no matter how I tried to comb my hair, I still couldn't hide the big yellow patch. And Elvis was like, come on, June, quit messing with your hair and let's get something to eat. Tomorrow you can buy a hat. Doesn't it really look that bad, I asked, not wanting to hear the truth. And Elvis was like, no, baby, it just looks like a bird. No, I take that back. It looks like an eagle flew over and took a dump right on your head. Come on, the boys are waiting for us, he said, putting his arm around me. Let me know that he was just kidding. Doesn't matter whether he was kidding or not. I kid with my wife sometimes, and she looks like she gets hurt. I'm like, babe, I totally don't mean that. That's just a joke, But how funny. That's funny and not funny. And as we walked into the hotel lobby, I felt like all eyes were on my yellow patch. And Elvis looked at the guys and he said, not one word. She's had enough ribbon from me. They all covered their mouths with their hands like little children do, laughing. When they're not supposed to laugh, The joke was on me, but they were so funny, I had to laugh too. Sitting in the late night diner, waiting for our cheeseburgers, the conversation turned to the events during the final show in St. Petersburg. Elvis had forgotten what verse he was singing, but with all the screaming, nobody had noticed. He couldn't even hear the band, and the band couldn't hear him. Tickets to all 3 shows were sold out, and the people had been turned away at the door. A dozen or more girls determined to get in had to be pulled one by one from the fire escape. There was so much commotion outside the theater as there was inside. It was well after midnight when we finished eating. The short order cook turned off most of the lights and put the close sign on the door, letting us know, that it was time to leave. Elvis was having so much fun, though, that he insisted the party be continued at his hotel room. Meanwhile, a large group of fans had somehow discovered which room Elvis was in and were knocking on his door and shoving pieces of paper and his black and white photos under it to be autographed. Now, Pat was gathering everything that came under the door and bringing it to Elvis. After signing his autograph for 15 minutes, he asked Red to see how many were still out in the hall. Red opened the door just a crack, and you could hear the roar. "Man, there must be 50 kids out there," Red said, slamming the door real fast. "You want me to call hotel security?" And then Elvis said, "Nah, just let them be. They'll be home after a while." Not wanting them to get into trouble. And that's what makes Elvis just a great guy. He appreciated his fans when he was immature and young. And he appreciated them even more as he got older. I'm glad June put that in the book. It's a big character trait of Elvis, that people that want to make fun of him over how he passed away and all that stuff, and those kind of people, that if they knew something like that, they'd have more appreciation, I think, for him. 30 minutes later, the pictures and pieces of paper were still coming under the door. Pat, do you know how to sign my name?" Elvis asked, tired of the interruptions. "Sure, El, I can do it," Pat said proudly, signing his name and showing it to him for his approval. Damn, that's good, Pat. You're hired, baby." Now, ready for some alone time, he took my hand and led me to his bedroom. We lay across the bed, hugging and kissing and talking about the days when things wouldn't be so hectic. It wasn't long before he fell sound asleep with me in his arms, and I was trying to sneak out without waking him. But when I moved his arm, he held me even tighter. "Don't leave me, baby," he moaned, half asleep. "I'll be back. I'm just going to the bathroom," I whispered. I stood in the doorway and watched him go right back to sleep. Pat was sitting on the floor, still signing autographs, and Jean was half asleep on the couch. I asked Jean to undress Elvis and put him under the covers. I don't know why that's funny. Jean going in there undressing Elvis and putting him under the covers. When Pat and I opened the door, we found 2 young girls tearing pages from a tablet. "Elvis has gone to bed, we're going to bed, and you 2 need to go to bed too," I said. They smiled, gathered up their autographed sheets of paper, and ran down the hall. "Good night. Tell Elvis we love him," they yelled before getting in the elevator. I think y'all are telling Elvis that you love him by watching this video. That book was written in 1997, and there's some things in there that I probably will use for reference in a couple of the parts of Elvis books, because there's some stuff in Are You Lonesome Tonight that was written that's very almost identical to that, except June's book was written 10 years later. So we know that that's something that Lucy and June might have had in common. There's some stuff in there. Certainly who Elvis was. Anyhow, I hope even if you don't necessarily believe in the Are You Lonesome Tonight, Lucy Matera, Desiree Presley story, that maybe you read it. Maybe there's some stuff that's going to be in this companion book that'll give you pause and make you think, well, maybe it is true. Because, I was very delicate with how I handled it, knowing that I've got a relationship with Desiree and with with dairy, and in the fact that ultimately I believe in the relationship that happened. Now, in every book that's out there, no matter how sourced and how well intended, there could be some stuff that might be a little creatively written. Now, I'm not saying there is, but I'm just saying that nobody's perfect, and you work with the information that you have at the time, and then sometimes history, as I've tried to prove in my book, history will prove you right decades later, when there was no proof then, perhaps. And then sometimes history will correct a couple little details because the proof that was handed to you then, may not have been as accurate. And reading through Are You Lonesome Tonight and writing my book, there's nothing. Well, I mean, I'll just let the book speak for itself when it happens, and then we'll have conversations about it. And I'll answer questions about why I wrote about this or why I didn't write about this, what I found out about this, what I didn't find about this. Anyhow, thanks for sticking with me, and probably we're not going to do any more videos today. I wanted to do a third, but as you can see, I'm kind of having to talk with my throat clenched because it hurts. So I got that little, that sound in the throat. It's almost like a Johnny Cash. It's almost like a Johnny Cash, I guess Johnny Cash must have had a sore throat all the time, June. I'll tell you what, when I was down in Monroe, Louisiana playing shows, something like that. That's kind of how it feels. All right, TCB TLC, thanks so much. Till next time, Joe Sins, Ray Evers Photos.